Let's talk about what disappointment is and what it is not. Because in order for us to deal with something, we got to understand what it is, right? Now, disappointment is the gap between what you hoped would happen and what actually happened. The bigger the hope, the more that gap can hurt. Feeling disappointed does not mean you are weak, dramatic, ungrateful, or too sensitive. It often means you cared. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wanted something so badly that when it did not happen, you did not just feel disappointed? You started doubting yourself? Maybe you practiced, auditioned, applied, tried out, spoke up, or finally took a risk, and the answer was no. Maybe your friends made plans without you. Maybe someone promised they would show up and they did not. The disappointment is real. But then your mind adds a second layer. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I should stop trying. Maybe this will never work for me. If this is where you are today, I want you to hear me say this clearly. Disappointment is a moment. It is not a definition of who you are, and it is not a prediction of everything that will happen next. Welcome to the Gracefully Growing Podcast, the place where teens and young adults learn practical tools for navigating real life with gratitude, reflection, affirmation, connection, and empathy. I am Dr. Kemi, and I'm glad that you're here. By the end of this episode, you will know the difference between pausing and giving up, how to challenge the story disappointment tells you, and how to choose one next step, even when you do not feel completely confident yet. And if you're a parent, a guardian, or an educator supporting a young person, I invite you to stay with me. Near the end, I have a short message to help you respond without minimizing what they feel or rushing them into a solution. So, are you ready? Young people, I want you to grab your journal. If you do not have a journal, I want you to grab a notebook. If you do not have a notebook, I want you to open the Notes app on your phone so you can take notes. Now, if you're interested in getting a journal to help you on your journey through the Grace Framework, I have written the Affirmation Gratitude Journal, and it is available on Amazon. So please make sure that you look at the show notes because I will paste the link in there for you. Today, we're going to talk about how to feel disappointed without letting disappointment make your decisions. And I will walk you through a practical grace reset you can use when part of you wants to quit. So I want you to imagine a student named Maya. For weeks, Maya had been preparing for a leadership position at school. She stays after class, practices or interview questions, asks for feedback, and even imagines what she will say when she gets selected. Then the list is posted. Her name is not there. At first, she stares at the page, checking it twice, as if the letters might rearrange themselves. Then she notices a name that she recognizes. One belongs to someone she thought had not worked nearly as hard. Maya smiles when a friend walks by because she doesn't want anyone to know how much it hurts. But later, she deletes all the notes she made for the role and tells herself, I knew I should not have tried. I pause. What actually happened? Maya was not selected for a position. That is painful. but it is a fact she can respond to. Now, what story did disappointment add? You guessed it. I should not have tried. I am not leadership material. Trying only makes me look foolish. Those are interpretations, not facts. And this is where disappointment becomes dangerous to our growth. It can take one result and turn it into a conclusion about our whole identity. One grade becomes, I am not smart. One rejection becomes, nobody wants me. One setback becomes, nothing ever works. Your feelings deserve honesty. Your conclusions deserve examination. I want you to pause and think for a moment. I want you to think of a recent disappointment. What happened? What did you decide it meant for you and about you? Hold that thought. Let's talk about what disappointment is and what it is not. Because in order for us to deal with something, we got to understand what it is, right? Now, disappointment is the gap between what you hoped would happen and what actually happened. The bigger the hope, the more that gap can hurt. Feeling disappointed does not mean you are weak, dramatic, ungrateful, or too sensitive. It often means you cared. But disappointment is not the same as failure, and failure is not the same as final. A disappointing outcome can mean many things. You need more practice, a different strategy, clearer feedback, better timing, additional support, or simply another opportunity. Sometimes you did your best and the outcome still was not what you wanted, right? That truth can be frustrating, I know, and I understand. But it does not erase the value of your effort or your ability to grow. Here are 3 traps that I want you to notice. Trap number 1, the forever trap. This will always happen. Trap number 2, the everywhere trap. Because this went badly, everything is going badly. Number 3 is the identity trap. I've talked about this in previous episodes. Because I did not get the result, I am not worthy, capable, or talented. You see, when you notice one of these traps, do not shame yourself. Here's what I want you to do instead. I want you to name it. Because here's the thing. A named thought is easier to examine than a thought you automatically obey. Here's a truth that I want you to remember. The outcome may be disappointing. The story that you are hopeless, powerless, or finished is not a fact. Now let us walk through the grace disappointment reset. Now, you do not have to rush through all the 5 steps. And the goal is not to force yourself to feel better instantly. The goal is to move from emotional reaction to a wise response. So you ready? We're going to start with gratitude. Gratitude allows you to ground yourself in what is still true. Gratitude does not mean that we're pretending that you're happy about what happened. It means that we are refusing to let one loss hide every source of strength, support, and possibility that still exists. So I want you to ask yourself in that moment, what is still true? Who still supports me? What did I gain by trying? What strength did I use that I can carry forward? Remember, we're failing forward, right? And failing forward means you examine what happened, you look at what worked in that moment, and you look at what didn't work, and then you try to avoid what didn't work. All right. So in Maya's case, Maya might say, I am disappointed and I am grateful I have the courage to apply. I learned how to interview. My teacher gave me useful feedback. I still care about making a difference. Maya might also say, this hurts, and it is not the only thing that is true. Moving on to reflection. Reflection helps you to separate the event from the story. Reflection helps you to slow down long enough to notice what you feel and what you were telling yourself. So try completing these sentences for me. The fact is, I feel, the story I am telling myself is. Another possible explanation is. So for Meyer, the fact is, I was not selected. I feel hurt, embarrassed, and jealous. The story is that I am not a leader. Another explanation is that I need stronger examples in my interview, or that this particular team was looking for something different. Now, hear me. Reflection does not promise that the alternate explanation is perfect. It simply keeps one painful thought from becoming the only explanation you have. Affirmation reminds you to speak truth before confidence returns. Affirmations help you to speak truth before confidence returns. An affirmation is not a magic sentence. If you've been following me for a while, I say this almost every episode. Affirmation is not a magic sentence, and it should not deny reality. The strongest affirmations are honest enough to believe and strong enough to guide your next action. So, for example, your affirmations, I can be disappointed and still be capable. One answer does not determine my future. I do not have to feel ready to take one wise step. Trying was evidence of my courage, not evidence that I was foolish. So choose one of these statements and repeat it when the old story returns. Confidence does not always come from action. Sometimes confidence grows because you acted while you were still unsure. Connections remind you not to process every setback alone. I remind my teens every week, you do not have to do hard things alone. And I sincerely mean that. Because here is the thing about disappointment. It often makes us withdraw into ourselves. We do not want advice, questions, or the possibility that someone will say, it's not a big deal, but the right connection can help you see options your hurt cannot see yet. Because remember, when you're in the midst of the feelings, sometimes we cannot see anything but that disappointment. So the right connection helps us to see the options that our hurt cannot see yet. So I want you to choose a trustworthy adult, a mentor, coach, teacher, counselor, a family member, or a grounded friend. And I want you to be specific about the support you need from these people. So you can say something like, I don't need a solution yet, but can you listen to me for 5 minutes? Can you help me separate what happened from what I am assuming? When I am ready, will you help me ask for feedback? I'll never forget a time I applied for an assistant principal role. I prepared. I studied the school. I knew my lines. I knew my answers, but I didn't get the role. Was I disappointed? Oh, absolutely. Oh, I was so crushed. But do you know what I did? I emailed that principal that I interviewed with, and I asked for feedback. Now, let me prepare your mind. When you ask for feedback, you have to be ready mentally to receive the feedback. I was ready. And when he gave me that feedback, my feelings were hurt. I'm not going to lie to you because listen, I'm human, right? But the things he told me in that feedback, I use that every interview from that point. And I landed an assistant principalship the second time after that feedback. So feedback is important. But the thing about feedback is you have to be ready to receive the feedback. Let's go back to talking about connections. Connection is not giving someone else control of your decision. It is allowing support into the decision-making process. Finally, empathy. Empathy reminds you to be kind to yourself and fair to others. Self-empathy says, of course this hurt. I cared, I hoped, and I worked. That is different from self-pity, which tells you there is nothing you can do. Empathy for others also matters. Even someone else receiving the opportunity does not mean they stole your worth. Repeat, someone else receiving the opportunity does not mean they stole your worth. You can feel jealous without behaving cruelly. You can need space without attacking. You can congratulate someone later when you can do it sincerely. Then extend empathy to your future self. Ask yourself this: what choice today will future me be grateful I made? Let's talk about the next step rule. Do not make a permanent decision in the strongest moment of a temporary emotion. Well, here's what I want you to do instead: pause, recover, get information, then choose. Sometimes stopping is wise. Not every goal, friendship, team, class, or plan must continue forever. The key is to decide from clarity, not from the first wave of pain. So before you quit, ask these three questions. One, am I quitting the goal, or do I need to change the method? Two, have I gathered useful feedback, or am I guessing why this happened? Three, if I wait 48 hours, will I still want the same decision? A pause gives your emotions time to settle and your wisdom time to speak. During that pause, I want you to rest, talk to someone, or write down the facts and identify your options. Your next step might be to try again. It might be to practice one skill. It might be to ask for feedback, choose a different opportunity, or revise the goal. Progress is not always repeating the same exact action. Sometimes perseverance means staying committed to growth while changing the path. So, a new thing that we're doing now is having people send in questions anonymously. So, today's anonymous question says, I worked hard for something and still did not get it. Everyone keeps telling me to try again. But what if trying again just means getting hurt again? First, your hesitation makes sense. After disappointment, the thing your brain does is it tries to protect you by saying, don't risk that feeling again. You do not have to force an immediate decision. What I want you to do is I want you to give yourself permission to recover before you evaluate. Then ask, do I still want this goal? Or did I only want the approval attached to it? What did this experience teach me? What would be different about a second attempt? Is it more practice? Is it feedback? Is it support? is a preparation or a better fitting opportunity. Trying again should not mean repeating the same plan without new information. It can mean returning wiser. And if you decide this particular goal is no longer right for you, choose a new direction because it fits who you are becoming, not because disappointment convinced you that you are incapable. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are also allowed to remain open to possibilities. For the adults, the parents, the guardians, educators, coaches, and mentors supporting a teen, disappointment may show up as silence, irritation, tears, withdrawal, sarcasm, or I don't care. Sometimes I don't care means I cared so much that I feel embarrassed admitting how much this hurts. So I want you to start with connection before correction. I encourage you to try. I can tell this matters to you. Do you want me to listen, help you think through options, or give you some space and check back later? I want you to avoid saying it was not meant to be, or you get over it, or other people have bigger problems. Y'all, those statements may be intended to comfort, but they can make a young person feel foolish for caring. One supportive action you can take is to wait until the emotion has softened, then help the teen request specific feedback. Ask them what part was within your control. What did you learn? What support would make the next step feel possible? The goal is not to remove every disappointment. The goal is to help young people discover that disappointment can be felt, processed, and survived without losing their confidence or their sense of belonging. Let's talk about your grace challenge for the next 24 hours. I want you to take one disappointment and create 2 columns on a page. In the first column, I want you to write what happened. Include only facts. In the second column, I want you to write what I decided it meant. Circle any statement that predicts forever, judges your whole identity, or takes away all your choices. Then finish this statement. The next step I can control is. Make the steps small enough to complete. Send one message. Ask one question. Practice for 15 minutes. Rewrite one paragraph. Make one plan, or simply wait until tomorrow before deciding. So I ask you, what is your one next step you can take, even if it is small? Share only what feels comfortable in the comments. Before you go, I want you to remember this. Disappointment can change your plans without deciding your potential. You are allowed to feel the loss. You are allowed to pause. And when you're ready, you are allowed to choose your next step with wisdom instead of fear. If this episode helped you, I want you to subscribe to the Gracefully Growing podcast and send this to someone who needs to know that one disappointing result is not the end of their story. And if you want support practicing these tools in real life, I'm inviting you to join the Living with Grace teen program in our school community. We are building emotional resilience, confidence, and connection, one practical step at a time. You will find the enrollment link in the description. Now tell me in the comments, which part of grace do you need most right now? Is it gratitude? Is it reflection? Is it affirmation? Is it connection or empathy? Until next time, I want you to keep growing. Keep choosing your next wise step. and keep living with grace. I will see you in the next episode. Remember, you got this, and I am rooting for you. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Gracefully Growing. Thank you so much for tuning in and growing with me. Remember, living with grace means showing gratitude, taking the time for reflection, speaking powerful affirmations, building strong connections, and practicing daily empathy with yourself and others. If today's episode gave you something to think about, inspired you, or made you smile, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can also download today's free resource in the show notes and join our Gracefully Growing community on social media for more tools, encouragement, and real talk. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself, keep growing, and most of all, keep living with grace. I am Dr. Kemi. See you next week.